today we're going to be doing another wreath with just one roll of mesh. And I want to show you, before we start, kind of your options when you're doing a wreath and picking your frames. So this is a Dollar Tree frame. These are 14 inches. This is a 10-inch. This is called a 20 to 30 inch frame, but it's actually 13 inches. This is a 15 by 24 frame, so you can see the difference. These are flat. These work really well. This is elevated, so you're gonna get a fuller wreath if you use an elevated frame. This one is going to be very large. So you can decide what you want to make. And here's the thing, if you're gonna be shipping wreaths, it's better to go on a smaller frame. So maybe one of these or one of these. We've just done a wreath on one of these. We did the bunny. So we're gonna do this frame today. Now, if you do end up doing a frame that doesn't have ties, I do suggest you use the tinsel ties. You can get them at Craft Outlet, Trendy Tree. But we're going to use this frame. So it is a little bit smaller. They're called 20 to 30 inch, but it really is a 13-inch frame. So it's still a pretty decent frame, but it would easily fit in probably an 18 by 18 box or a 20 by 20 box. So that's why I think these are a good size, and it's easier to find these frames right now. To keep in mind with being budget conscious, we're going to use this frame. We're going to use one roll of mesh. If I'm going to use one roll of mesh and only that, I like to use the jute mesh. It covers a lot better, and it's just a better quality mesh. So this is the red jute mesh. We do have it in the shop. So we're going to cut 20 inches. We're going to cut the entire roll. So if you want to do one wreath, cutting the entire roll at 20 inches will cover the entire wreath. Because we are using a smaller frame, we may actually have some mesh left over as well. Okay, so we have all the mesh cut. Let's look at our ribbons. So when you're doing a wreath, a really good idea is to have different types of ribbons. We're actually only going to use these two ribbons because they complement each other perfectly, and they're going to look absolutely adorable with our sign. So if you look here, here's how we did this color combination. So we have the red, of course, and that's for the watermelon. These two match perfectly, so we have the lime, the dark green, and the red, which is all in this ribbon. And we have a little bit of pink in here, so we're pulling the pink out in the sign. So you can see these are perfectly matched. These are in our shop, as well as the sign. So you could actually do this entire thing with what's in our shop. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to cut our ribbon to put on our wreath. Is count the number of ties I have so I know how many ribbons I need to cut. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We have 16, so we're going to cut 16 of these ribbons. So you can see with this frame, we're going to be able to use a lot less supplies. We're still going to get a really pretty full wreath. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut our ribbons at 11 inches. So this frame is a little bit smaller, so 12 inches could overwhelm the frame. So we're going to cut 18. Okay, so now that we have the ribbons cut, I'm just going to run them together. Once we have all of our ribbons ready, we're going to start on putting our mesh on. I did put one mesh on just to make sure that I had the right length for the ribbon. So you can see when I put this ribbon on.
Thank you for calling me out. Here, you want to circle that 12. Don't trust me on that.
Yeah. Don't worry, I checked the orders.
You can see this is a great length for this size wreath. So that's how I determined what size I was going to make my ribbon. Okay, so we're going to open up the ties at the bottom so we can go ahead and put them in. There we go. You just lay your mesh flat. It is much easier with this jute mesh. It really doesn't fray and it rolls up very nicely. So you just go straight up the middle. You're gathering it, just gathering it until you get a big chunk in the center and you make a bow tie.
Yes.
And you're going to put that big chunk that you made, and that's where you're going to tie your tie. Then you're going to want to pull it up against each other and get that nice ruffle edge. You're just going to keep doing this all the way around. When you get to the last tie, you need to ruffle it on both sides. You do want to tie it a good couple of times when you put it in. So we've gotten all of the mesh on the bottom, and as you can see, the one on the last I did both sides of the ruffle. Now we're going to put our ribbon on. So for the ribbon, you just want to take it, fold it in half, pinch it where the middle is, and then gather it up. So you're just gathering it just like this. And I like to go ahead and get a little birdie, so I just run my hands under it. This is wired ribbon. You really want to use wired ribbon. It's not going to hold up as well if you don't. Once I get the ribbon on, you can come and trim off some of the ties that are left and just tuck it back behind. And then we're going to spread our ribbon out so we can see all of the ribbon. There are two ways you can do this. You can pull it to the front and have your ribbon come out front like this, or you can do it crisscross. So here is crisscross, here is all in the front. Really, whichever way you decide to do it is fine. I do kind of like to crisscross mine just because I can see the ribbon better. But you also have to keep in mind that when you get to the top, it is going to push the bottom down a little bit. Oh my gosh, this ribbon is so pretty. Okay, so we finished the bottom. Oh my gosh, that's so cute. All right, so now we're gonna open up the ties on the top and we're going to do the top. Now, as you can see, you really can have an adorable wreath with just one mesh and 2 rolls of ribbon. Okay, look how cute this is. Oh my gosh, look at this ribbon.
Ooh, I love that.
Okay,
I really do.
I do too. So we're gonna do the exact same thing on the top. So we will just go right up the center, making our ruffle. And it really works best if you use your hands. So use your thumbs to push forward and your fingers to pull back. Remember, if you have trouble using it, you can always use a Bodabra or a bow maker to do the same thing. So we're just going to put it on and kind of pull it up, let it ruffle. And we'll go on to the next one. If you do need to use something else to do your ruffle, you can take your Bodabra or other bow maker, place it on its side, put your mesh right in the center where you would normally put your ribbon, and just pull down. So you're doing the exact same thing. You're still creating that ruffle. Then you just want to pinch it together to pull it out. We still have a ruffle. Then you can place it in just like you would if you did it by hand. So if you have trouble with your hands, this is a great way to do it without hurting your hands. Then we pull it up, make sure it's ruffling nice, and we want to make sure it's not squashing the bottom. So you can see how cute it is when you have the smaller frame and you put the ruffles in the middle. It really almost looks like a flower. So now we'll put our ribbons in. We're going to do it very similar to the way we did it on the bottom. This time we're going to make a complete crisscross. When you are deciding to put ribbon on, what you really want to do is you want to make sure that you have your ribbon about 2 inches above your mesh so that you can see the full pattern. So you can see this one really shows the full pattern. So it is a great length, and it doesn't overtake your wreath, so you can still see some of the mesh. If you don't really want to see your mesh, then you could do your ribbons a little bit longer. It just really depends on what look you're going for. Okay. So we've gotten the top layer done. And doesn't that look absolutely adorable? You can see all the ribbons very well. And just for comparison purposes, I want to show you a couple other wreaths I made with just one roll of mesh so you can kind of get an idea of the difference that a frame makes. Okay, this wreath is done on a Dollar Tree frame, so you can see the size difference. This one is done on an elevated frame, so you can see the difference. This is a flat frame, so it is nice and big. It's just not as high dimensionally, but you can see they both look Now the Dollar Tree one is a little bit bigger, but not by much. This is another wreath I did with one roll of mesh, so you can see the difference. This is a 15-inch work wreath, so you can see it is considerably bigger. It's not an absolute ton bigger, but if you can tell, this one is going to take up, more room to ship than this one does. So you can see, if you are really thinking about doing this, doing the smaller base, you still get a very full wreath, you can see, but you're not going to have nearly the dimensions to ship. We also have a little bit of leftover mesh, but let's look at it now with our sign. Oh, that is so cute. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a bow. And the bow is where, if you want to bring in additional ribbons, the bow would be a great place to do it. You could just stick with the ribbons that you have, or you could skip a bow. Do a bow. So let's talk about what we could add to this just to give it a little bit extra with the bow. Okay, so when you're adding extra ribbons, one of the best things to do is take your ribbon that you have left over from Sam's and things like that. So I just pulled a couple of green ones. These are both Sam's ribbons. Sam's ribbons are great for adding the accents. I also pulled a red and green, and here's what I want you to understand. You can use your Christmas ribbons in the summer if you're doing specific projects, right? So if you're doing strawberry, watermelon, apples, anything that has a red and green theme to it should work really great. We're going to start off our bow with our paisley ribbon. So we'll start with, we'll say a 14-inch loop, a 14-inch tail. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go to 6 inches. 6 inches on the other side. Again. And this is the last one. This is a pattern, but since it's in all different directions, you don't really have to try to turn it around. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to throw in one of my extra ribbons. Let's do this green. Okay, so we go 6 inches on this one, 6 inches again. Trim it off. Now we're going to go to our watermelon. This time we're going to go a little bit smaller so we can match our tail, but we're going to go to 5 inches instead of 6. So this is going to make our bow stand up a little bit better. Okay, 5 inches. 5 inches. This is a pattern, but it is all in the center. You really don't have to twist it. So we're going to get 2 at 5 inches right there. Okay. Pull it out, trim it off. Okay, and we're going to put in this ribbon. So we have the dark green and the light green. This is also going to be at 5 inches. It just adds a little bit of fun to it. Okay. We'll grab a zip tie, run it under one side, just pull it out. We will grab a pipe cleaner. I'm going to take and hold one side lightly while I move my zip tie around. And I'll run my pipe cleaner through the back. And we'll tie it really tight. Then I'll hold all 3 of these pieces while I break the bow. So I'm just going to take it and twist and pull. This just helps us get a much better fluff. And it helps so that you can move the ribbons where you want them to be and not where they want to go. There we go. All right. Now I can trim off the pipe cleaner. And we can run our hands under the ribbons because they are wired. Okay, so we'll bring our wreath back. We can add our bow on. So the bow is going to pop because we have a couple of extra ribbons in there. We didn't use much, just a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to tie it right around where I tied my mesh. And I can actually take one of the leftover meshes and scrunch it up and put it underneath my bow. And this will help my bow to stand up better on the wreath. So it won't sink into the wreath, it will stand up more. Okay, just like that. Then you just want to fluff it out a little bit again. So see that mesh underneath it really makes it stand up. Woo. Alright, so now we're going to curl this 1.5 inch. The rest are just going to hang. And we'll put our sign on. There we go. Okay, so we can put our sign kind of like right off to the side of the bow. So I'm just punching a hole in my sign. Then I'll take my 26 gauge wire. I'm only doing 2 holes, so with rounds I usually only do one at the top and one at the bottom, or side to side, depending on how I'm putting it on the wreath. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie, just kind of go in between my mesh and tie it right down to the frame. Because I use this 26 gauge wire, it's easy to hide in the wreath. So it's easy to just kind of move my mesh so you can't really see where I tied it down. I roll it around the frame a few times. Now trim off the excess. If you want your sign to stay up higher, you can take your wire and tie it up, and that will keep it from falling down. So if you ever have trouble with your signs wanting to fall down, you just need to tie it up instead of, so tie it to the frame above it instead of the frame below it. And then it will keep its spot. And there we go. Let's pull this over a little bit. There we go. So there's the sign right there. There's the bow. You can see it's very full. We only used one roll of ribbon. Pull this bow over a little. There we go. That's better. All right, I hope y'all enjoyed this. Make sure to subscribe so you know when I am bringing out new content. And most everything that's on this wreath is in our shop. It's hardworkingmomstore.com. And just remember, you can use your Christmas colors in the spring and summer. You just have to pick the right coordinating items. All right, y'all have a great day. Bye.